So if you take a look at the AHL's website and you go over to their Calder Cup Playoffs, no, this is not the Calder as in like, oh, it's the trophy for the Rookie of the Year. This is the Calder as in the Calder Cup, the AHL's overall championship. Because if you take a look at the Calder Cup playoff bracket, you'll see that there is currently one team that is in the what I guess we're going to call the third round, their divisional finals, and that team is the Grand Rapids Griffins. They're the first team to advance to the third round. They have 2 more rounds to go if they want to go out there and win this entire darn thing. And with this in mind, I wanted to go out there and talk about one of the guys who has been such an important part of this squad. A guy who recently got returned to Grand Rapids and who has played such a pivotal part in their recent playoff victories over the Rockford Ice Hogs. Now, you know from the title, you know from the thumbnail, today we are talking about Simon Edvinsson. A guy who recently wrapped up his 2023-2024 with the main Detroit Red Wings squad. And a guy who, I guess we could go out there and say, is probably going to be a full-time wing next year. Is that too hot of a take? I don't think so. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you disagree with that, but honestly, I feel like with the way Edvinsson played towards the end of the 23-24 regular season with Detroit, he was so good, so poised, so calm. You could even see that in the deployment here. I mean, in the final few games that Edvinsson played with the regular Red Wings, he had 20 minutes of time on ice, 19 minutes. He had 15 twice towards the end there, but before that, he was consistently getting 19, 20s right in there. Now, you can say that the dire circumstances of the last few games wherein the Wings won 3 straight 5-4, and yeah, you heard me right, they won their last 3 games of the season, each with a score of 5-4. It's kind of nuts how they were able to do that, but still, the Wings got that done. They were in the playoff race for a very split second until the Washington Capitals beat the Philadelphia Flyers because John Tortorella pulled the goalie. Yeah, kinda sucks, doesn't it? But that is what this video is going to be about, because you had yourself Simon Edvinsson, who, as we had said, is now in Grand Rapids doing his thing, speak out about the way the regular Red Wings season ended. This article was published earlier yesterday by Bob Duff on Detroit Hockey Now. Red Wings playoff failure is still haunting Edvinsson. It will be linked in the description. What I wanted to do was go over some of the comments here that Edvinsson made. This article opens up by talking about how the AHL's Grand Rapids Griffins has Edvinsson playing a significant role. He's a top-pairing defenseman. At the same time, though, Edvinsson continues to find the close call the Red Wings had to being a postseason team be a disturbing memory for him. Honest answer, Edvinsson asked, "Of course it bothers me still. Of course it bothers me. How close can you come was really that feeling." This article then talks about how the Wings were eliminated via the tiebreaker because the Capitals scored the empty net goal to secure the win and thus put themselves out of reach from the Red Wings, and to go out that way was bothering, Edvinsson admits. He also goes out there and says this: "There's still some thoughts about that entire situation, but I think that's not something I think of during the games here in Grand Rapids." He said of missing out in the NHL playoffs, "That's something I'm going to have to focus on during the summer. That's going to be my kind of thing to work on during the summer. Just have that energy to want to be better and to improve and for the team to get up there next year. But right now, let's just focus here on the games in Grand Rapids and try to win every game while we are here." There are a few extra comments that Edvinsson makes in regards to the differences of AHL and NHL hockey, but I wanted to revisit that one more time. Just kind of the ending portion of Edvinsson's 23-24, because when he was called up and given an extended role at the beginning or middle part of March, I think it was, that's sort of when Wings fans started to say, okay, now we're cooking. Like, we will get ourselves the resume for Simon Edvinsson to be a full-time NHL defenseman. All you gotta do is let Derek Lalonde do his thing. And as we had said, 20 minutes a night, 19 minutes a night, Edvinsson was getting playing time, and he actually looked pretty solid. Sure, he didn't produce anything. He had 1 goal in the Toronto game, and that was it, in this entire stint with the Wings from March until the end of the year. But still, for a guy who is only 21 years old and who is technically on a much faster development path than Moritz Seider was when he was drafted, this is fine. Like, all things considered, this is okay. The fact that Edvinsson looked like a top 4 defenseman who was still on his ELC and was able to play a pretty confident game towards the end there, that's a good sign. And the fact that he has been sent down to Grand Rapids, he's been doing his thing on the top pairing over there, the team is winning, they're now going on somewhat of a deep run in the Calder Cup playoffs, and Edvinsson is playing a big part of that, that is kind of the development you need. As we had said, when Moritz Seider was Simon Edvinsson's current age, Seider was just wrapping up his season in Regla in Sweden. There was a bit of a weird development path with him because he went from Germany to the AHL to Sweden and then back to the NHL, but still, Edvinsson, the fact that he was playing significant NHL minutes in this season's worth of play already puts him technically above what Seider accomplished. Now, of course, I'm not going to go out there and guarantee that Edvinsson wins the Calder next year or anything like that, but it is a good sign if you're looking for the future and what these guys have to offer. So for Simon Edvinsson, to see him go out there and talk about how, yeah, it was really disappointing, he is still kind of haunted by the loss, and it's kind of a weird format, yeah, go ahead, talk your smack, Simon Edvinsson. It is kind of weird that the Washington Capitals were able to squeak into the playoffs with as few wins as they got, right? Yeah, totally weird. Change the playoff format, Gary, please. But let's go back to the article and read what Simon has to say in regards to the differences between NHL and AHL playoff hockey, because it is an interesting conversation here. He starts out by acknowledging that the step back down is requiring some adjustments on his part. Of course, but it's just small ones, Edvinsson said. It's a different kind of hockey. It's a different tempo, and of course, that's why it's different. NHL from the AHL. Of course, it's a lot of excitement, though. You want to go on a long playoff run here. The transition, it's a little bit hard at the start, but you battle into it. I was up in Detroit 1.5, 2 months. To come back down is a little bit different. It's hockey. It is what it is. You just have to deal with it. So at the end of the day, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about Simon Edvinsson and his entire postseason so far. In the 4 games that he has had against Rockford, he has 2 assists, so not the most amazing high-flying point production, but he is still being utilized in, dare I say, like in a Moritz Seider kind of role with the Grand Rapids Griffins. Like, I don't think that's too inaccurate of an assessment. The role the guys play on their teams could be seen as very similar. So for Simon, if he's able to take that sort of profile and bring it into the NHL over the next few years, I don't want to say you have a Seider clone, but you kind of do. And having these guys play together would be maybe one of the best Red Wings defense pairings we've had in years, ever since, like, what? Jeff Petrie and Ben Sherrod? Okay, no, pause. Yeah, no, I'm kind of joking about that. But there have been some really good defense pairings over the years, just maybe not in recent years. Seider and Edvinsson could be that one. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as to whether or not that has the possibility of happening. If I had to project it myself, I mean, I kind of debate in my head whether or not these guys are too similar to play together. Like, you know, sometimes if you have 2 guys who are so different, opposites attract, that is what makes their pairing work. You have the Cale Makars and the Devon Taveses. You had the Lidstroms and the Rafalskis. You had other pairings, even recently, like Anton Strom and Victor Hedman, where one guy is a lot more two-way or offensive leaning, another guy is more defensively stable, and that kind of works because it allows the guys to feed to their strengths. If you have Seider and Edvinsson together, I mean, if they're both playing similar defensive shutdown guy styles who can move the puck in the offensive zone a little bit, I don't know how well that's going to translate. Maybe you could separate them and get a bit more benefit that way, but I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments if you agree or disagree with that assessment. Either way, link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and read more about Simon Edvinsson and his 2024 Calder Cup playoff run with the Griffins. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.